Hi friends, welcome to another episode of Green Pastures. My name is Jude Antoine and we have a very interesting panel right here before you to talk to you about this topic, the challenge of simplicity in a consumeristic culture. So let's introduce our panel for today.
My name is Andrea. I'm from Bangalore. I'm a student of Chartered Accountancy course.
I'm Vivian from Malaysia. We have our own family business running restaurants.
Hi, I'm Jude Antoine, Catholic lay missionary from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, involved full-time in ministry, in teaching and preaching the Word of God right across the world.
I'm Merlin Fernandez from Mumbai. Currently, I'm a teacher. I serve in the music ministry and as well as a confirmation animator in my church. I'm a mother of 2 sons.
I'm Dale Menezes from Mumbai. I'm currently working in my family business and we're into events.
The topic once again, challenge of simplicity in a consumeristic culture. But first let's establish the reality of this consumeristic culture that you and I are living today. Merlin, maybe you can just share with us a little bit. From your perspective, how do you see this?
For me, a consumeristic culture is basically when your wants are more than your needs.
Correct.
So you have an addiction of buying more and more things to satisfy your needs or your wants, just to show that you have the latest things, you know, or probably you compare yourself with your neighbor or with somebody else, and you don't realize when you end up in debts. So you're just buying more out of habit and not out of need.
Correct.
That's what I feel is a consumeristic culture.
Wonderful explanation, Merlin. Wants versus needs, yes. And do you see this happening here, right here in India?
Yeah, I also see that happening in my house, in my family. I have 2 young boys.
You have boys, yeah.
So whenever I used to...
How old are they, Merlin?
Now one is 22 and the other is 20.
Perfect, yeah.
So from childhood, whenever I used to take them shopping and they would see various things, you know, as the liberalization came into India in the 90s, a lot of the international brands came into India. So I would always ask them 2 things. Do you need it? Can I do without it? I said, whenever you want to buy something, ask yourself these 2 questions. Do I need it? Can I do without it? Of course, it worked for some time, but now they are out of my control. So we have these discussions at home. So they have the latest laptops, you know, with a thin pad and everything, the works. So recently, one of my sons was going by train, and the Bombay trains are very crowded, and he got pushed and nudged all sides, and the screen cracked.
Wow.
So the
That's
replacement,
a tragedy.
yes,
That's
just
an amazing
to replace,
tragedy. The world is over.
and you know, the warranty just got over, and these things happen when the warranty just...
It always,
And
It always
eventually,
happens.
yes, eventually when you call up the dealers, they say this is not covered and that is not covered and everything is not covered.
And you pay.
So I wonder, yeah. And I told him, why don't you just use something that's more sturdy? It's not about the brand, but it's, you know. So I guess the younger generation wants to be seen with the latest gadgets, because or else they will be left out in the rat race or something like that. So it's more psychological rather than, you know, looking at what you really need.
True.
That's what I feel.
Andrea, you come from Bangalore.
Yes, brother.
What is your reality in Bangalore? Is it something similar to Mumbai here, or?
Yeah, it is. As a child, I knew my parents, their only aim was to buy a house or an apartment. So we bought an apartment, and that time the cost was 3 lakhs or 4 lakh rupees. When I grew up, I moved to Bangalore to work. I'm from Bangalore, so this is 3 lakh back then in 90s was a big thing. Now in Bangalore, I'm married and I'm thinking, you know, I should buy a house. We've been discussing. And it's a race. No, my colleagues have an apartment of 1 crore rupees. So now I have to look for an apartment. So I know my budget, but then I need to spend on the apartment, I need to spend on the interiors. We made an interior budget, but what we actually spent was like 3 or 4 times the cost of the what our budget was. That was probably a rat race again when you think back. I always wanted a simple house. I would say, yeah, I can manage with a 1 bedroom. But when I wanted to buy a house, I bought a 3 bedroom house. But the reason being, I thought, okay, my in-laws will come and stay over and all. But now I know how difficult it is also. It is a race. It is a race. We thought, okay, everybody has to have a comfortable life. If you have all the luxuries, it will be comfortable. But it is not easy. And I would definitely prefer a one-bedroom apartment right now. But we are putting up to trying to match different standards.
It's interesting, the contrast in these perspectives, yes? Merlin spoke about needs versus wants, and Andre spoke about the rat race, and both of this is a reality that we are faced today, yes?
Yeah.
Dale, you are from big city,
Yes.
Bollywood, yes? And I'm sure with young people your age and realities facing around you, you would see this
Every day.
consumeristic society.
Yes, definitely.
Share with us your perspective, please.
Definitely. So the first thing I'd say is something I've started to notice is the mantra of MNCs nowadays is using social media. So it's not possible to scroll through any device without having some kind of marketing hit you. And what happens is this gives us a real sense of perceived value where we feel like it's designed in a way, the marketing is designed in a way that you see an ad, any advertisement, and it gives you the perception that, oh, this is higher quality, and if I own this, it will show that I'm capable or I have the latest gadget, or it shows the edge that I'm riding that wave. And that it's really marketed as such. So nowadays, if a phone can do your work, but then the company will add a little more battery, maybe a little different feature, and call it Pro. And suddenly everyone's like, I want the Pro version. Not that I could use the battery in a day anyway, but it gives the perception that I'm on the bleeding edge of technology right now. I've got the latest and greatest. My phone can be a computer, and I can use the screen for movies. But then the same person is a really basic individual. He's a really simplistic person. But nowadays the marketing is just what's getting to people.
I like that word you said, perceived value, yes?
Yes.
And the world is injecting this perceived value to us right now.
Yes.
Yes. So whether you are in the rat race or not, according to Andrea, you are stuck with having to live up to this perceived value. Vivian, you are from Malaysia.
Yeah.
Yes. Is Malaysia any better than this, or is it just as bad, or
Definitely
it's probably
not.
worse?
Worse.
It's probably worse.
Probably
Yes.
worse. But I have to say, you all are still going through the rat race. I'm already in past 50, so I've already passed the rat race.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So maybe it's very contrasting what you are saying. I'm just basically trying to retire, having a peaceful life, but I do work with children. I've got 3 children that I have sort of sponsoring. So I'm going through with them the stages which you all are going through. Peer pressure, phones. I've got this girl which I'm going through with her. She's so obsessed with phone. She lies because of it, because her friends have it. So I'm trying to teach her, your friends, you see your friends who have it, but there are friends who do not have it. So I'm trying to teach her is that you do not have to have what your friends have. I said in a class, like they was telling me that in a class they have, they have a party for these friends. The friends bring back like packed food and gifts. And then there are like 20, and then some they don't. So I said, I would rather you be one of the 20 who cannot afford to give than to be one of the 20 who can give. Because you have to be part of those, because there are many, many people who cannot afford to give.
Yes.
And they are the ones who feel that, they steal, they lie, because they are going to school now. So, I've gone through school a long time ago, but I'm seeing that it's getting worse and worse and worse. All these gadgets are not good at all. So, but if you can teach the children that, we have grown up without it, and we are okay without it, but there must be a balance. Of course, we have to let them watch iPad sometimes. You want to watch this, you want to watch that, they can watch it.
Yes.
But they cannot own it.
If you don't mind, I know a little bit of your family and your background. You guys came from Penang, Malaysia, and quite a tough time, quite a tough life, you know. And despite that, having moved to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and really have made well. All of you and your siblings have made well in your lives.
Yeah.
So personally, I perceive that really the toughness of life really taught you how to value what you have today in life.
definitely.
And that's the kind of values that we want to impart
Definitely.
versus a consumeristic society that just spends and forget about what you have. Yeah.
We came from a very poor family in Penang. My father had, we 11 in a family, and my father was the only one working. And we managed to, finish our studies and all that. And then, but the thing always in our mind is to help the family. The family is, he knows our family is very together. And if one is not doing well enough, the other one will help the other, So we went on our own, we struggled, and we managed to, we had our own work. I was in construction, my sister was in advertising and all that. So one day we decided to start a business of restaurant in Kuala Lumpur. And it's beautiful because all of us are there, and try to be simple, as you say, just go on with life and be happy with what you have. Of course, I always say I'm not that simple. Sometimes we enjoy the luxuries of making some money, but it's nice to share.
Yes, that's right.
Share with the poor, because I always tell I always admitted that I came from a poor family.
That's right.
And it's okay.
This is very interesting because I directly connect with what Dale said, perceived value. Somehow we have this notion in a consumeristic society, if you don't have enough, you're a nobody.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if you can flash a high-tech handphone or a branded item, then you are a somebody.
Yes.
And somehow we are portraying that to the world. And yet, the challenge of Jesus and the challenge of the gospel is really to live a simple life, a lifestyle of simplicity. We see this in the whole prosperity gospel kind of a preaching that is going around in the world today. If you love me, I will bless you, and therefore you will be very wealthy, and the health and wealth gospel, the prosperity gospel. And yet, Jesus himself was just a simple carpenter.
Yes.
Do you see that this is really a challenge? Is this compatible? There's two different paradigms that we are working with. One is following Jesus, the simple carpenter, and yet being faithful to the gospel, versus a world that tells you you are somebody if you have this. Malin, what do you think?
I feel with regards to living the gospel, we have to first live it in our lives and our families, right from the time that we are growing up. Like I too came up from humble beginnings, and as salaries increased, we didn't get lured into the worldly life of buying n number of things, because we always went back to our past. Like the Israelites, they always had this thing that they have come from slavery to freedom.
Correct.
So they always carried that in their heart, and they just didn't go, everywhere. So we also, my husband and I, we always kept those values in our life, that we have come from humble beginnings, and we're not going to just keep on buying or do whatever that the world tells us. Sure. So going back, if you have to be a true disciple of the Lord, you really have to walk in faith, and you have to live the faith every day. There'll be lots of, the world attracts you, like Dale said, with so many messages, so many emails. I actually didn't know any of these things. When my
Your children taught them.
Yeah, my children started ordering online, and even today, I don't know how to order online. If I like something, then I'll tell them, okay, can you get this? One is, we didn't believe in credit cards. There's no credit card concept.
Yes.
So whilst there are a lot of the prosperity gospels that I say, but there are also, the scripture also says that you have to save.
Yes.
Okay? And the person who saves is a wise person.
Correct.
So we always believe that it's not what you earn, but what you save that matters. Because at the end of the day, we have seen many people who are in debt, just because they are flashing all these things. Earlier, I used to feel that, and the commandment says, do not covet your neighbor's goods, no? So sometimes you would feel, oh, that person, when I was small, I used to always feel that person. How did God allow that person to have such a big house or a big car, or my own classmates? I used to feel I didn't have anything. I have grown up with seconds.
Hand-me-downs.
Yes. hand-me-downs, and I did not feel shy about it because I knew what my parents could afford. And when the time came when I could afford, I never went and, okay, buy a Nike shoes or just go and buy something, because that still stuck with me. I have to buy what I need. I just need one pair of shoes because I just got 2 feet. I don't need many. And the point I'm trying to say is that we have to live the gospel in our lives right from the time we have a family with family values, and teach our kids the right way, because they are going to be attracted by the world. They are going to be pulled in all different directions. They actually see what we do. So today, if we move from a state of not having things to a state of abundance, is how much you are giving to the society, to the needy, and how generous you are with what you have, is what the children are going to learn.
Yep.
If my son says, no, I want to drive the car, I say, can you afford to put the petrol in it? Then you should drive the car. Now he's just got a job, he started working. So we are slowly we are trying to teach them the values step by step. We can't take everything away from them, because they're also living in the world. They live with many other people.
Yep.
And sometimes they feel that you're very old-fashioned, or you belong to the last generation, or maybe God knows which century. But
So it's very difficult to balance that out.
Correct.
Very
Correct.
difficult to balance.
Vivian, you do this work with the Aboriginals in
Yeah.
Malaysia. You work with
Yeah.
the poor, the
Yeah.
poorest of the poor.
Yeah.
You can share something about that, because that literally ties in with what she said.
Just now we were talking about being happy and not being happy. Only last week when I saw these girls coming from, they live in a very, very simple house. We help them build houses and all that. And they don't have water. They still don't have water in Malaysia. I don't think Malaysia is so advanced. They don't have water, they don't have electricity. They go, they take about 20 minutes by motorbike out to the school. So this group, so happened they came back with the uniforms, and we just had some rice for them on the table. And they were such happy kids,
Yeah.
So happy. Hi, they come back and they have their meal. How was school? Very good and all that. Then I compare to those kids who have everything in the city. So unhappy. Not enough. My phone is good, not good at even in the home. Oh, I don't have this, I don't have, my friends have got smiggles. I need a smiggle bag and something like, So these kids are, whatever you give them, thank you. And they have very basic things. And I think simplicity, I think they are the happier people.
Yeah.
Definitely happier than the city folks. And the city folks, they think that they have everything. The children think they have everything. But they are so unhappy because they keep on comparing what they have with other friends. I think
the key is learning how to give, learning how to simplify your life so that you focus on the basics. Dale, maybe you can share with us.
Yes.
I think for a young man, that's incredible challenge.
Something which I've read about, which is we buy things that we do not need with money we do not have.
Correct.
To impress people we do not like.
Yes, correct.
And
that's
Perfect.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That really hits hard.
Can
when
you repeat that again?
Yeah.
So we buy things we do not need
Right.
with money we do not have.
Correct.
To impress people we do not like.
Perfect.
And I do come across it quite often. And so I am currently working with my parents, and they will always explain to me their childhood and how they were brought up. So I've been very fortunate to be born into a family that can supply, and my parents are willing to allow me. But that also means I have not experienced hunger. I have not experienced a lack
Correct.
of any thing, any physical thing. And because I'm into prayer, into religion, and I would like to learn, the most I can do is try to put myself in their shoes. And it becomes a little confusing because I have friends right now who are working. And as I said earlier, we're hit with so much marketing. I have friends who want the latest bikes and the latest phones, and it's nice to get caught up in it. It's a discussion. We literally sit like this and talk about the latest phone, and it would be normal for me. And at the same time, we have to seriously consider our level of maturity, because that is not something that's present at each table.
Correct.
Over here, I'm the youngest, so I'm lucky. If you all say something, I could pick up on it. Basic
Another
group
discussion?
meetings. Yes,
Yeah.
in another discussion, there may not be any maturity at the table. So no one's talking about saving for your parents when they retire. No one's talking about saving for your children's education, maybe. Merlin's spoken about the trials of raising children. And it's yes, if I think about it, being responsible for adults, there's a day where you may not be able to see what they are doing.
Correct.
But you are 100% responsible for that, and every parent has to go through that.
Yeah.
Now that's something I could just imagine and think of. I'm grateful that I've had parents to explain that you have to put yourself in other people's shoes. But at the same time, the marketing and the way the world shows you, oh, you must, you should, try it out, go for it. People are getting carried away. My friends and my generation, we have way more exposure. For me, it's very possible to look at something happening in America and say, oh, I wish I had that in India.
Correct.
That may have not existed 20 years ago.
Correct.
That kind of builds a lot of pressure. We have children nowadays asking for international holidays
Correct.
Yeah,
instead of just wanting to go to another state.
Correct.
And parents, yes, parents obviously want to deliver. As a parent, you say, like, I'm responsible for my child's experiences. And every parent wants to give their child that. If I can imagine,
Yeah.
you'd want to say, yes, I can take my child abroad, click a picture with them, maybe at the pyramids or with the Eiffel Tower, something different, so I can show my child that I love them. The problem is children also expect that. Show me you love me by taking me here,
Yeah.
or by giving this to me.
That's the difficult part.
And I just say, like, this is marketing. We perceive marketing as buy it now so you save 15%. But did you have to spend anything in the first place?
Yeah, that's so true.
So it's a play of perception, and it's a play of either perceived as love, perceived as a bargain, perceived as acceptance. And yeah, I definitely come across all of
So
this.
if we change that, remove that equation, I am somebody if I have this, if we remove that equation and find our identity in who we are in the eyes of the Father, in the eyes of God,
Yes.
then all this becomes face value already automatically,
Very
immediately becomes
immaterial,
face
yes.
value. I am not who I am because I own such a handphone or such a gadget. I am not who I am because I am who I am because I'm loved by the Father, because I'm a child of God. I am who I am because I'm precious in the eyes of God, and therefore I'm precious in the eyes of everybody else. So your perspective changes, and once your perspective changes, then the way you act and talk and everything else changes as well. In these last few minutes, maybe each of us can give some points for our viewers who are watching this and who are faced with this exact challenge of living a simple life in the challenges of faced of what we are talking about.
My parents always wanted to spend time with me as a kid. But right now, parents sometimes, they want to earn money so that they can spend, enough on their kids. So they are working all the time. They don't have the time to spend time with children. And in all that, I think that's why they are also getting carried away by all these things. It's difficult to imbibe in them the values what you want to.
Very true. Vivian,
I'm
what do
talking
you
about
think?
my time. I don't remember my mother giving me a lot of time. We grew up on our own. I always tell ourselves we grew up on our own. But the one thing that kept us good in that sense was my mother's teaching. She never had a lot of time for us, but she always insists we go to church. We must go to church for Mass, and then we continued, although we strayed along the way. But I always believe it's the root.
Yeah.
It's the root, how she sowed the seed. And it's always been with us, although she never taught us every day, like you must do this, you must do this, you must do this. Jesus says this, Jesus says never. Just taking us to church, telling us what is good, what is bad, that's it. And that's, after that, we are on our own.
For me, that is witness of life, She not just preached it, but she lived it in her life.
Yeah.
And I think that's a key for many parents today. I think if we just keep preaching to our children, their children are not going to
No
listen.
example.
They need to see
They need
it
to see
being
it.
lived in our lives. Dale?
If there's something I could say is, it's fine to want to work hard to a goal. It's fine to say, I'm going to work, maybe I'll buy myself a second-hand scooter. It gives younger adults something to work towards. But at the same time, do not make it your life's goals.
Correct.
Spend time to enjoy your parents while they're young. Take your mother out for a walk.
Oh,
Spend time away from the phone.
that's nice.
Take your dad out. My dad and I, we share a passion for motorcycles. Sometimes it's nice to put the technology aside and just have a conversation. Oh, I would like to go for this ride, or let's go for a ride in the night.
Perfect.
So there's no point collecting money or collecting gadgets. You buy the latest phone, just newsflash, it's outdated in 6 months. 6 months is not a long time.
Yeah.
So it's better to invest in people, invest in experiences with each other.
You speak with more maturity than a young man your age, Dave.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's so perfect. My takeaway from that is enjoy the time with people. You know, not enjoy the thing, but enjoy the person. You know, we live in a society that says love things and use people, but rather we should love people and use things. Yes, and I think that takeaway of enjoying that moment with people, simplify that relationship and get into that person. So great, Andrea, family, Vivian, witness of life, enjoying relationships, and you, Merlin.
Me and Kevin, my husband, from the beginning we have lived on God's providence.
Right.
That's been our basic underlying value of our family. Scripture says, my God will supply all my needs according to the riches in Christ Jesus. Everything comes with God's providence, everything. And we have taught our children from the beginning that when we both were in business, waiting for clients, we didn't know that you're going to get 10,000 rupees a month, or you're going to get a 1 lakh rupees a month, or you're going to get nothing. There could be nothing that could come. So everything depended on God's providence. And when anything came, the first thing we would do is keep it on the altar, offer it to the Lord. So when my son got his first salary, he just joined a job last month, and he came and showed it to us. So we said, first you offer it to God, because He is in charge of everything. He will supply everything that we have and what we need. So I always tell them, you have the secret of life with you, in the Bible, in the scriptures, with us. So you don't have to look for it anywhere.
I think each of you gave a very important facet to the jewel of living a simple life. It's not possible with our own human wisdom to try to live this simplicity, this providence, this depending on God, this witness of life, this family relationship with our own strength. It is purely the grace of God. And I think the viewers, as you're watching this, friends, we want to invite you. Be open to the grace of God working in your life. And as Merlin so beautifully said, God will supply all of your needs as long as you keep your eyes fixed on Him. Thank you, friends. My name is Jude Antoine. This has been Green Pastures. Thank you. God bless you.